Hey beautiful people, this video is about commitment and performance management. It's one of a series of 3 videos that I'm doing on this, and it's foundational to effective teams, effective execution, and effective delivery. So welcome, my name is Jennifer Kenny. I'm the best-selling author of The Innovation Mindset and the award-winning author of 100% Capacity, and I mostly focus on performance, execution, teams, effective teams, high-performing teams, and I work particularly with development teams and primarily software development teams in highly complex technical environments, and also work with scientific teams. So today I want to talk to you about commitment and performance management, and the reason for that is I want to help people make the shift from thinking about performance management as something that we do to people to thinking about performance management as something that we orchestrate among people. And I want to give you a framework for beginning to think about that differently and understand it differently. So as we think about performance systems, we often think about performance as being the amount of work that gets done. And in many instances, what we're doing is we're measuring the amount of work that gets done. So we might measure the number of tasks that are completed in a particular time. We might measure the number of lines of code that get done in a particular time. We might measure the volume of code that gets done. We might measure the number of functions that get delivered on. We might measure the milestones that get completed. And whereas some of those are very valuable, what we're doing there is we're measuring all about the outputs. And what we're missing when we start thinking about it in terms of true team performance, we're missing an opportunity to be able to ask ourselves, how are the team really performing? Are we just judging it by their output? Or are we judging it by the quality of the way that they're working together? Are we looking at it in terms of its long-term sustainability? Are we looking at it in terms of whether or not the team itself is actually growing in its competence and capability? Are we just treating it like a machine to get stuff done and we're only looking at the outputs? If we approach things from that perspective, what we're doing is we're missing a really important opportunity to be able to grow the team so that instead of the quality of the work and the speed of the delivery of the work degrading over time because the team gets bogged down, because the team gets burnt out, because the team gets tired, what we're doing is we're actually looking at the really important parameters, I believe really important parameters, around how is the team growing and learning together and becoming more high functioning and more effective together over time. And ideally we're seeing that increase rather than decrease or degrade over time. So if you want to start looking at that, one of the most effective ways to do that is to really understand what performance or what execution looks like for a team. Now, if you watch any particular sport, I'm sure many or most of you do, and you're either watching tennis where there might be 1 or 2 players on a team, or you are watching an entire rugby team or a football team where there are 11, 12, 15 depending on what type of football or rugby you're looking at, and you see where the team begins to function like a single unit. You see where they're able to have a language for each other of the plays that they're going to make and the moves that they're going to make and when they're going to pass the ball and how they're going to be able to connect and engage with each other. And everyone who's followed sport for any period of time is able to recognize the magic of those kind of teams. That took them an incredibly long time to get to that point. What we're looking to do is we're looking to find out, is there a way for us to be able to understand how teams actually play together, how they execute together, and whether or not we can build something into that execution that allows them to be able to move further and further towards being a very high functioning, very effective team. So when we think about performance management, I'm imploring you, recommending to you, that you also start thinking about how the team is functioning and whether or not the team is actually increasing its capacity and its performance ability. So let's talk about the idea of how teams actually make real commitments to each other. If we go back to the football or the rugby or the team sport analogy, it doesn't matter what team sport it is, you'll recognize that there's a camaraderie and a friendship, what looks like a friendship, amongst a really highly successful team. They have built the shared language together, and they know that they have each other's back. And many times when the players are interviewed after the game, if they're really good players and they're good leaders, they will thank the entire team and they will say, we did this because everybody had each other's back. We did this because we'd been practicing together for so long. The idea of making a real commitment means that we are putting ourselves in a position where other people understand that we have their back when it comes to getting something done. When I talk about commitments, what I'm referring to is I'm talking about the handshake that people make when they understand that they have a real promise with each other. I'm talking about the request that a customer will make inside an organization or a team when they're asking someone else to do something, not commanding them, not delegating it to them, but asking them to do it, requesting that they do something. And I'm also talking about the offers that really effective team members and potential leaders make when they are looking to solve a problem, a systemic problem, or even a small problem that they see, and they want to be part of the solution and not part of just sitting on the sidelines complaining. They'll come up with an offer that they want to make to their boss or to the person who they see as responsible for that area where they can contribute something valuable, and they will make an offer. So a commitment then is a promise that we make to each other as a result of an offer or a request, an offer that we make or an offer that we receive. And what it also has is it has an understanding and a respect for someone else's capacity. So there's a capacity check that needs to happen in there that allows people to be able to say yes or no, whether or not I have the capacity to be able to do that. The same way that you would book a meeting with somebody and you would say, I'm available at 8 o'clock on Friday. Does that work for you? Do you have an opening in your calendar for 8 o'clock on Friday? Many times on project teams, we fail to actually recognize each other's capacity or lack thereof. And we very rarely even ask about it. We just go, can your team do this? And we assume that we can push our people to be able to deliver on what it is being demanded of them or assigned to them. What we do there is we create a level of disrespect and a level of distrust where we're not relying on the individual to be able to assess their capacity, and we don't trust that they understand what they're being asked to do well enough that they would actually be able to make an assessment of how long it's going to take to make that happen. So we're doing a couple of things in there that really destroy the fabric of trust that we're looking to build and really undermine our ability to be able to measure performance and build high-performing teams. We might be able to measure the output that person is producing, but we don't know whether or not that output is going to degrade or actually improve over time. And particularly when it comes to the interactions amongst a team, many teams will kind of run down or run to ground, or kind of their ability to be able to deliver on work will degrade progressively. And part of it is because we're missing this understanding of real commitments as being the fabric that holds a team together and allows people to really be able to excel. Once we talk about what it's going to take for work to be done, we need to also recognize that people's ability to be able to say that they are done is not just that they are now able to punt it down the road to the next person who needs to do something with the output of their work. We need to also put them in a position where they can learn how to be able to refine their engagement and calibrate with other people who they're working with on the team. If I say that I have completed something and I am done, I need to be saying it to a person. If I'm simply saying it to a task management system, and now it means that my boss can go in and look at it and go, 200 tasks got done this week, those tasks may not be done to the satisfaction of the person who asked for them in the first place. If we fail to do that last phase of what I refer to as the coordination loop, and you can see a graphic of it here, but if we fail to do that last piece, that last quadrant, what we're doing is we are basically putting aside a learning loop. And the learning loop in that case does two really important things. One, what it does is it allows me to be able to learn how the other person likes work delivered, how there's a gap or maybe not between what they're asking for and what their expectations are. I learn how to be able to calibrate my expectations and my customers' expectations to the point where we can build a shorthand to be able to really work effectively together. Think about it as we're passing the ball across a field and we know that we can get it to land where the other person is going to have arrived ready to catch it. Because we have been doing this coordination with each other for a long period of time, and we have almost that invisible understanding between us that allows us to be able to meet that gap that might exist between where I'm actually throwing the ball to and where the other person is going to end up being in order to be able to catch it. As you start thinking about that declaration of completion versus the declaration of satisfaction, I now not only need to be able to figure out where the person's going to be as I throw the ball, I also need to be able to make sure that I'm learning every single time I go through that cycle with them. One of the things that highly effective teams, sports teams do is they do their debriefs afterwards in the locker room. And I'm not suggesting that we use the after action review process. I have found that to be good and well intended, but not necessarily as effective as it could be, because it needs a lot more structure around it and practices to really be able to make it be effective. And we'll talk about that in another video. But what I'm interested in here is how do we actually learn how to be able to do things better together? So if I'm making a commitment to another person on the team, I now need to be able to learn how I could have done it better from their perspective, not only in terms of how I calibrate and coordinate with them, but also what we learned together in terms of our ability to be able to deliver on something powerful based on our respective mastery and our respective expertise. So when we think about real commitments, what we're looking to do is we're looking to build this foundation of real commitments. And then our performance now begins to look like how many commitments did we actually deliver on and how satisfactory were those commitments. I'm still also measuring my milestones and I'm still also looking at what exactly has been put out by the team. But I'm looking at this very important health element, which allows me to know whether or not I'm moving towards higher functionality on my team and higher capacity on my team, or whether or not I'm eroding and degrading that. So if over time I see my number of commitments that I believe are in the system that I have logged, that people have agreed that they're going to deliver on, and I see our ability to be able to close the loop on those degrade over time, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing the team beginning to kind of fray around the edges, losing trust with each other, not having each other's back, not being able to declare breakdowns, not being able to really coordinate with each other. So when you think about execution, I really encourage you to start thinking not just about the performance metrics of output, but also the performance metrics of execution and process. If you found this interesting and you found it useful as a different way to start thinking about, well, what really is a high-performing or highly functional or highly successful team, and how do we ensure the health of the team over a long period of time, I encourage you to look at my white paper, which is called Execution by Design. And there's a link to it down below in the comments. And there's also a link to it on my website, which is www.jenniferkenny.com/execution. Download it, have a look at it, let me know what you think about it, and let me know whether or not this way of looking and thinking about performance metrics helps you think about how you're going to design yours for your team and for your future projects. And as you do it, I wish you every success and the best of luck. Take care.